I I don't know. It's just my suggestion. I feel like if I were you, Cody, I would take this row because like that'd give you more variety.
Move your legs for me, kids. Right there. I can't ever beat you with chicken. I can't. It's our little puppy friend. Little puppy dog. Little puppy dog. Little puppy dog. Yeah, itchy floppy ears, aren't they? They itch so much, don't they? Yeah. Oh yeah, that's the stuff. All right. Why don't you lead us today, Ricky?
Alrighty. So today we played
I'm gonna zoom in on you on your
Japanese-inspired game. At least inspired by Japanese painting artistry. It's called Kana Gawa.
Kana Gawa is a drafting game based on painting schools of 19th century Japan for 2 to 4 players, which pits you as students trying to earn diplomas and develop your own style of painting studio in order to ultimately collect the most harmony symbols. To begin, lay out the bamboo school board in the middle of the table. You only use the number of columns as there are players, 2 players, 2 columns, and so on. Randomly choose a first player and give them the Grandmaster pawn, showing who is currently first player, and also the assistant pawn, which can move around during the game and determines who the next first player will be. Then, distribute the starting tiles randomly to each player along with 2 brush pawns. The starting tiles determine the first season that will be used in the player's painting, while the brush pawns are used to activate a certain skill depending on the cards drafted by the players. These are the lesson cards. Shuffle these at the beginning of the game, and these will be what the players draft over the course of the game to improve their painting and/or studio. On the brown portion of each card, you'll see a skill that can be added to your studio. For example, this black circle allows you, if activated, to add a mountain landscape to your painting. This symbol means wild. On the print side, you'll see several symbols. The top left shows whether this single image will add any points to your total at the end of the game. The top right shows what season it counts for, with storms counting as wild. The bottom shows the requirements for adding this image to your painting, and in the center you'll see the actual painting itself, which in this case shows mountains and also a building. Finally, set out the diplomas like so, off to the side. These are essentially the game's bonus objectives. As soon as you accomplish the requirements listed, you earn the diploma, unless you choose to pass and pursue a better one, and any rewards listed on them. After the setup, the game begins. Rounds start by having the players lay out one row of lesson cards across the school board. Players can then choose to draft one of the columns of that row, or pass, depending on what the player is looking for. If all players pass, another row is added, and the option to draft one of the columns, which now would have 2 cards each, is given to each player in order, and so on. While most cards are laid face up, showing their image, tiles that would fall on the red parts of the board are laid face down, only showing the type of subject matter that was painted on the other side of the tile, leaving a little bit of mystery to the drafting process. Once only one column is left, the last player takes that column. After drawing a column, you move to the second phase of the round and now must play your tiles. You have 2 choices. You can turn the card basically upside down and cascade them together, so you can only see the studio portions and what skills you have activated. You also get the benefit of any red symbols here, such as getting an extra brush pawn, taking the assistant pawn, using the arrow to move a brush pawn that was already played once per round, or getting to hold on to a lesson card for later. You can always add to your studio. However, you can also flip the card the other way and add the image to your sprawling painting, but you can only do so if you have met the requirements for adding the image, such as having that black symbol activated in order to add a mountain landscape. After adding to your studio or to your print, your last action is to redeem any diplomas you have earned, but up to a maximum of 1 of each color. This means you may want to save up for the higher reward diploma of the same color, for example a green diploma for having 7 trees in your print, or take the diploma for 3 trees now and give up on pursuing the higher ones. When all players have taken columns from the school, the assistant pawn player becomes the new first player. After finishing phases 2 and 3 of the round, a new round begins by filling the school with new tiles as before. The phases repeat until the last lesson card is drawn from the deck. Alternatively, if one player has at least 11 cards in their painting, the game ends at the end of that round. Players then add all harmony points from their work, including points for total number of cards in their print, the number of cards in the longest sequence in the same season, points printed on the cards directly, points from the diplomas, and 2 points if you have the Grandmaster token.
And let's see, I guess I'll start off with just my general opinions. I thought it was quite fun. I didn't quite. There's some bad mistakes I made early on. I didn't quite get
Hang
it.
on.
Oh my gosh. It's time to go to school, boys.
But it's my blankie. I saw it first. Why do you get to keep it? Oh,
Oh, does this mean I get to be first player again?
at least, well, you get the mistakes.
Yeah, it took me a while to kind of catch on with what I should do, like any game I first try out.
First player, and going clockwise, your first player. You can either take that column, or pass. So I guess he just adds all of these to his studio. Is that right? So you get the diploma, I think. I guess when you get the column.
But that didn't prevent me from enjoying it and trying to strategize in my head what my next move should be.
Pass. Right, pass. Okay.
I feel like, why would you take a single card right away?
Yeah.
And yeah, I liked it.
Was there anything about the game you would like change?
Not really, actually. Not to say that's like perfect, but I don't know. It seemed like all the problems I had were just my fault, being inexperienced. And I think if we gave it another shot, it'd be a lot more competitive. And yeah, I can't really think of anything we could do or they could do that would help the game out. Okay, so let's see what I did.
Okay.
I painted that, so I used the brush, put it here.
Okay.
And I learned the green.
Okay. Not over there at all. Well, I guess Mountain's not over there either. Okay. Was there anything you think about the game that was like unique about it?
Let's see. Well, I liked I know others have said this, but I like the bamboo, like playmat. Kind of adds a little bit of authenticity. Not that bamboo's like an expensive material or anything, but that's pretty cool. And the artistry, the designs on the cards is pretty cool. It's just a really beautiful game.
Simple, rustic.
Yep.
I think I'll go next. Yeah, it's deceptively simple. I think it's another one of those kind of like rustic games. It feels peaceful, even though obviously we're not really there or anything. But it kind of just sets your mind into painting and peace and like learning and applying a skill of some type. It reminds me of like Seven Wonders and so many of those games out there that are kind of like you have kind of a point salad where you're trying to figure out like what points to go after when there's a whole lot of different options. And like everything, it's like, well, you can get this card that has a bunch of cards that has this pattern on it for a certain number of points, but to do that, you're probably sacrificing chasing a different pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're really lucky, you can get kind of synergy patterns at the end. You get these diplomas for extra victory points, and then you add up all your things at the end and find out who has the most. So that's a mechanic you see in a lot of games these days, I feel like. So it can feel a little overdone in some ways. Good. Skip, Rick. You stupid. I just felt like bleeping something out. Wow. I don't mean to be like, I guess everything I had to say off the top of my head is kind of negative, but I did like the game quite a bit. It's simple. It didn't take us very long to learn it compared to the thing we were going to play before that. This is a breeze to play, and it's short and quick. Even with brand new players, I think it took us less than an hour probably, or just about. But other negatives I'd want to throw on there is that the artwork's like pretty, but I don't know, it's kind of plain to me. I would have liked to have seen prettier, like more grandiose landscapes by the end of the game. Like, oh, this is really pretty. It's kind of mostly just like the same hills over and over again, and then sometimes there's a person standing there, sometimes there's an animal. It's kind of like, it's almost like formulaic a little bit. On top of that, I kind of think everything it's a little small. It's not a criticism I would normally make because many board games take up too much space, but like the bamboo placemat is like very small. I guess it doesn't need to be any bigger than that though. That's economical use of space. Yeah, our first playthrough, like I don't think any of us really knew what we were doing.
And are they worth like any more points on like multiple?
Well, it's not like their paintings aren't like worth inherently a certain number of points. It's like, I don't know. I can't answer that. It's not like they have a 3 at the top. It's like, oh, you get 3 points for getting this.
That one mountain.
I just want to make sure I understand this. So I had a brush on here, and I painted this because I had 2 greens, but am I supposed to have like them on?
Correct. You're supposed to have done that to paint that. You have an arrow, so you could have just moved it.
I mean, okay, so if I understood that, we'll just done that anyway.
So that's fine.
Okay.
I'll pass too. Okay.
What are we doing?
I ended up winning, which means I cheated, according to everyone.
Adrian trying to finagle a way to cheat us all.
12 points automatically, plus 6 is 18. 2 victory points is right there, 20. So I already win. Plus my 7 of those.
I'm surprised Adrian cheated.
28 points.
Adrian was just like, here, I got the rules. Hold on, I'll look at them. Nope, no, you don't. Don't worry about it.
I just kept adding cards to my. You guys were being so damn selective. I just kept adding cards. Cody will forever live with the belief that he acts like he's joking about me cheating, but that's what he really believes. I'm pretty sure.
Every game we play.
Every single game I play.
But I just kind of ran with like just a certain strategy with like, and I went recklessly into it, and it rewarded me. Are you done? I guess.
I put the.
Yeah, I guess you're done. All right. Okay. I will take this column. Okay, it says it's a person one. There's no person on it. The hell? But there doesn't have to be, I guess. I got skunked. All right.
Skunked again.
So that's possible that you can win without really like demonstrating any strategy. Really. The little paintbrush tokens annoyed me. That's probably a just me thing. Yeah, the game can be frustrating in that someone can end it like kind of early, I think. And like it's so short that like you kind of, it's one of those point salads where you don't get to take a whole lot from the buffet. You only get a couple of choices and it feels like the game's already over. And I'm the one who made it end quickly, so like that's kind of saying something. Yeah, it kind of reminds me. I think we played Seven Wonders recently. It kind of reminds me of that. It's that mechanic that's really repetitive of like, here's blues, reds, greens, and blacks, and like try to collect so many of one, and then you have to. But then that means, there's it's like a grid. Like you can go for the ones on the y-axis, or you go for the ones on the x-axis, and if you're really lucky, you can get kind of like a synergy bonus if you get enough of each down the middle or something. So this is kind of like a nice, pretty dressing to a mechanic I think I've seen many times before. But all that being said, it's quick, it's compact, good, fun game. I think the overwhelming majority of people will enjoy in a very small, compact package. And it's not going, well, just like with photosynthesis, it's not about zombies or killing things. It's like taking a different path. It's kind of more educational, and I like that. And there's value to it. So I think that's my immediate thoughts for now. Cody. You're disgusting, Cody.
Just a little back on the cheek for you. Yeah, it's just everything you said. I mean, something I've seen before in a bunch of games. The way you win and everything. Just a different theme, pretty much. It's good. Recommend it. But you could make like a compilation of like probably a dozen, 20 games like this. Probably pick like the top 2 and just say get these and just piss off with all the rest of them because they're all so similar. Like, oh, you get them in sequence, that's a thing, and then you get this, it's a thing. And there's also just like, wait a second, I've played this before, kind of, but it's just slightly in a different form. So it's good though.
So you could take this column, Cody, which has one you can build with a mountain, which you don't have yet. One you can build with 2 greens, which you don't have yet. You have 1 green, and a mystery card with an animal that could or could not be on it. This one would make you would be able to learn more yellows from these 2. You already have 1. You would become first player, but you're going to become first player anyway, and then the mystery card, we don't know. See, there's one that's like for butterfly and bird. There's one for bird, deer, and buffalo. There's one for deer, buffalo. But you have deer, butterfly, which by itself is not enough for anything.
No complaints. Just, yeah, something that you probably, if you played very many board games, you've probably seen something pretty similar.
Was there anything you would change?
You're usually not in the form that it's currently in. I mean, it's just, they probably kind of perfected this type of game, the point solid thing. It's just kind of a difference of theme, and maybe there's a few different ways that you get them in different points in different games, but they're all kind of boiled down to the same basic kind of thing. Not really.
One other, I guess, criticism would just be that other than using the cards you draft, you can either use for painting or you can use them for your studio to like improve the number of skills you have that enables you to paint more things. I feel like that's not an even trade-off, and that tended to be correct because I just went with the painting side of things and kind of neglected the skills part of it, and that helped me to win. I feel like there's not enough reward for improving the amount of skills you have. But this was a first play. Maybe someone who's really clever and experienced could just kick my butt by just pounding on the skills and like developing a huge variety of things they can paint.
Hello, me again. You know how we always seem to have at least one fairly major technical problem in every single one of our videos? Well, in this one, the recorder cut off. So we didn't get to really finish our thoughts on the game. However, there was only a couple minutes that you missed, and I will just summarize those real quick. Some couple other notes that didn't make it into the video. I in particular was not a huge fan of the game booklet.
I hate this book, dude. If you choose to take it, it's called. See, this game's like. This booklet is like written too much like you're role playing. It's kind of annoying.
But there were times where it was like if the manual had been just a little bit more straightforward, it could have answered our questions a little more easily. In addition, there are cards, I think both for the studio and for the print, that they would act as wild cards, but the problem is to use them, you would have to lose a victory point. That's too big of a trade-off. Obviously, the idea would be that if you could use these, you could string together a very big sequence and you could get a big bonus out of doing that. However, I mean, this game doesn't last long enough, and there isn't enough opportunity always to use those kinds of cards. To lose a harmony point is, I think, a little too strict a compensation for that. I asked both Cody and Rick, what would be a way that you could change this game to improve it? One suggestion I would have would be, don't have the mural just be a left to right stretched out, like ludicrously long image. Maybe what they should have allowed for the possibility of would be like having 3 or 4 different layers or different rows that you could build a picture of. So you could have animals on this layer, then you could have trees on this layer, etc. And you could have 3 or 4 high. That way it would be more, it would condense the amount of left to right horizontal space you actually need. And you could still see a much bigger, more impressive painting, etc. That would be your painting instead of just a left to right, then a tree, then an animal, then a mountain, then a building, then a tree, and just it keeps stretching. And it's hard to imagine taking that kind of painting seriously. Overall, though, I think we were all very lukewarm on this game. And we lost this footage, but I think Cody would have rated this a 65, and I would have talked him up to a 70. I'd go 75 in this one. I think Rick was probably the most positive about the game. And he'd probably be like 80, 85, somewhere in there. So it's well done, it's competent. It's a smaller title with some nice artwork, and it's peaceful and pretty to look at times. It could be better again if we had a better print at the end of the day to look at. Yeah, it's just one of those games that kind of gets lost in a crowded pack of games with similar mechanics. There's so many good games out there right now to pick from. I don't think I would recommend it. I think there's a better game you could get with similar mechanics. And I know that's where Cody is with it as well. So those are our final thoughts. Thanks for watching. I'm taking the first row. Now I have 12. Painted. Why do you want to suck the ball so much, Cody? I just said
dry and itchy.
well. Sounds like a you problem, not a Rick problem.
Could be a both of us problem.
Put this again, I'm not gonna go for a streak. I'm just gonna go for diplomas.
Let's go Nadules.
Well, it even adds to it is that you got a little hole in the crotch of your sweatpants.
They're dying.
Benny spider dogging over there. Cody, no. About to get burned to a big old wet part. Okay.
My turn.
Your turn to kiss my plump penis lips.
Cody.
Plump, pillowy penis.
I would love to. Cody, please. I would love that. I think that'd be a flaw not to take the first column.
Plump, pillowy, sticky penis lips. You watching your Uncle Adrian. You watching your Unky.
It's a big day with those blankets. I'm back to recording, by the way.
Woo! Suck my balls.
Thanks for waiting till I had the camera recording again to start doing it.
You're welcome.